What's the story, guys? It's Heritage here, and this is my Wonder Woman 1984 review. Yeah, as seen part of the course, we got this a week ahead of the States as per usual, so it came out today on Wednesday, the 16th, so it's not out in America till the 25th, where it's going to come out on streaming for you guys and all that sort of stuff. As per usual, the first part of this will be just spoiler free, and the second part will be the spoiler content section. I'll change the image so you'll know what's happened. Yeah, overall impressions, bit of a mixed bag. It's not the best film in the world, but it's not bad. Like, I didn't hate it, which I know is a terrible way of, starting a review for a film, but I didn't hate it. It was actually quite enjoyable. It's got a strange feel to it. Most of the DCEU films are really dark. Like the first Wonder Woman was the first one that actually had a bit of colour in it and a bit of hope and aspiration, whereas the other ones seem to be really kind of dark and gritty. And it's not in the same kind of vein as the Marvel films. Like, it's not flippant and self-referential and stuff like that, and doesn't have that snark. But it's not grim or unrelenting either. So it's got a strange tone to it, but not unenjoyable. One of the things that was surprising about the first Wonder Woman film is that despite the fact there's an awful lot of action in it, it was really very sentimental. It ends with her basically saying that it's all about love. And this film is the same. Like, there's some great action sequences in it, some ropey special effects. I will say that. There's some really ropey special effects, but I can forgive that because it was a hell of a lot of fun. And I mean, it's very colourful. I mean, this is called Wonder Woman 1984, and it's set in 1984. And I lived through that. I don't ever remember it being that colourful. I get the feeling that it's a bit like, in Back to the Future, where Marty McFly goes back to 1955. And it's kind of an idealised version of what, people remember 1955 to be. I don't remember 1984 being like that. But I will say that it's really enjoyable to see all the, the bizarre clothes and all. And it is a striking difference from how relentlessly grey the 1900s Wonder Woman film was when she gets to London and all that. And whereas in this one, like, it's set in like an American 1980s, and it is really very flashy and very it is like what the 80s was. It was a great time. Wonder Woman at this stage is operating kind of under the camera. There's a scene where she's like, you've seen it in the trailers, where she's taking out a couple of hoodlums in a mall. And the first thing she does is take out the security camera. So they got this journalist that was reporting on it, basically saying, they're trying to say that the cops caught these guys, but it was Wonder Woman. And she basically goes around telling people, just don't say it was me. And so they got a kind of a McGee type character, if you think like the Hulk was back in the 80s. They're trying to say that she's just this urban legend. And one interesting thing that they've actually done as well is that she hasn't fully taken on all her powers. There is a period in this thing where she's learning to fly, which kind of harks to what happened with Superman in Man of Steel, only it's just a lot more. I thought it was a lot more fun in this one. Like, it's enjoyable to see her, reach out like that. But the themes in this are, like I said, it's like love, again, in relation to her relationship with Steve. With Maxwell Lord, who's the villain, and his relationship with his son. He really wants to, be the man he is in order to provide for his son. I know Pedro Pascal is playing that as a kind of a Trump knockoff, but at the end of the film, he is kind of redeemed. So, I mean, you could almost say Patty Jenkins's a Trump supporter, if you want to be really that way inclined, and I think that would annoy an awful lot of people. But yeah, it's a strange affair. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's not something you have to see. I don't think there's an awful lot in the cinema that would require it either. There's some wonderful cinematography going on. So I mean, that obviously that will look well no matter what up on the big screen. So I think, all things being even, I'd rather see it in the cinema than see it on a streaming service, and that I had a really good television. But all in all, I had a really good time with it. It's, like I said, it just looks beautiful. It's great to see her in the outfit that's much more in line with what Wonder Woman wears in terms of the colours. Like the blue skirt, the red top. It's much more vibrant than in the first film. There's some lovely action going on. They use the lasso a lot more. Like I said, that's kind of taking the place of flight for her. Like I said, when you look at the Justice League films, she's able to fly. In this one, she doesn't realise that yet, so she's kind of swinging around the place more than anything else. And visually, it's very entertaining because it's really good in terms of the combat sequences. Gal Gadot is just fantastic. That's the best thing about it. They really need to now lock her down for a couple of films because she is DCU's equivalent of Robert Downey Jr. She's got great charisma. She can pull off the badass action scene. She can pull off the heartfelt romantic moment. She can pull off just being a giggly girl with a bunch of other girls who love Wonder Woman and want to get her autograph. That sort of thing. And that's not easy. So, I mean, they really do need to keep her in this role because I couldn't really see someone else that could pull it off. It's 2.5 hours long. It did nip by. I have to admit, I got in there to my show at 3 o'clock. The first time I looked at my watch, it was 5 o'clock, and there's only about 40 minutes left in the film. And I only did that having reminded myself just to check it because I didn't actually get taken out of the film at any stage. I just wanted to see how far it nipped along and was quite surprised at how nearly 2 hours had gone by so quickly. I can see this doing quite well because, like I said, you got the action adventure and you got the drama from that side of things, the special effects and all. But as well as that, you've got like the romance element that they really did handle that thing with Steve, you know, with Chris Pine's character. They did a really good job on that. I mean, I have to admit, it could have been tacky, you know, like, I mean, it's the inversion this time round. He basically is brought back, you know, through a wish of Diana's. That's accidental. She didn't intend to do that. They didn't know what the Dreamstone could do at this stage. But she ends up getting a second chance with him, and he really pulls off a kind of the awestruck notion of a guy from the 1900s now being in the 1980s, and all the things that were kind of science fiction from now being everyday things, just like the subway system and stuff like that. It just blows him away, you know. And when he goes to the Smithsonian and sees the space program, you know, like you just can't get the smile off his face. And it's done straight. It's not done mockingly or, you know, like I said in the trailers where he's trying on the outfits. That was probably the closest to mocking him as you get. The rest of it is played straight as somebody who just got this chance to see the future, and he's really in awe of it all. And the fact they've done that doesn't cheapen their relationship. So you really do buy that Diana, who had been pining from since the 1900s, you know, is she's kind of cut herself off from romantic entanglements. And it's really good to see them, you know, like get a chance to say goodbye properly, I suppose. So this doubles as a romantic film. I wouldn't say rom-com, but definitely romantic. So you could be there with a girlfriend and probably just have a good time. And there's some lovely little Easter eggs that they fit in there and well that I'm not going to ruin. You know, like, so yeah, I give it a good 7 out of 10. It's enjoyable enough. I don't know if you want to fall full whack in the cinema. I enjoyed it. I'm not a huge Wonder Woman fan. I'm more of a Marvel Comics fan than a DC fan. But I really enjoyed this interpretation of her. And I think you'll get a blast out of it. So there you go. That's my non-spoiler review of it. Wonder Woman 1984. A lot of fun. Really is. Cheesy fun in places. Goofy fun in others. But played a lot more straight than the trailers look. Kristen Wiig character, for instance, has a lot more weight to her than I was expecting, and it was really enjoyable. So there you go. I'd advise go see it if you're into this sort of film anyway. Just to be honest with you, if you can find anywhere that's open, I had to go to the other side of the city to get to the only cinema that's open in my area. But it was worth it, particularly well. It was going cheap as well, £6 to get in to see a film that's usually about 20. So I mean, I can't knock that. But yeah, there you go. 1984, Wonder Woman. Definitely worth saying. I'd say 7 out of 10. So there you go, guys. On to the spoiler section now. Okay, spoiler section. Pretty much all the stuff that was leaked came to pass. The Dreamstone, which is the main MacGuffin in this thing that Maxwell Lord wants to get his hands on, is it does grant people their wishes, and that's kind of like the driving force of the film. As more and more people get their wishes given to them, the more and more destabilised the world becomes, because everybody's competing desire starts basically creating chaos, which was actually the point of the person who created the MacGuffin, because that's basically, I think, they're DC's equivalent to Loki or something like that. It's a chaos god. He basically wants you to think you're getting your heart desire, but it basically ends up destroying any civilization that's ever used it. The MacGuffin is discovered in a raid. Like as you said, that's done in a mall. The shop that they actually rob is actually a front for basically esoteric and hot antiquities, you know, like, and so they actually stole it along with a few other things. So once it gets caught, it ends up going to the Smithsonian, where Diana's working with Kristen Wiig's character, Dr. Minerva. And like I said, at this stage, they don't know that if you're touching the Dreamstone and you make a wish, that wish comes true. So, I mean, you have the situation where Steve gets brought back because Rebecca's asking Diana, you know, what she wishes for, you know, like, and it's kind of said absent-mindedly. And in the same way, Rebecca really admires Diana. She says she wants to be more like her, not knowing that will actually mean she'll end up basically being Wonder Woman. That's something that I'd actually thought was pretty cute, because I thought she was being able to stand up to Diana because she was evolving into that cheater type creature that we see in the trailers, but it's not. Initially, she basically just starts getting Diana's powers, and that's why Diana starts getting more weaker, because the consequence of her wishing to get Steve back, but she starts losing her Wonder Woman powers, and the consequence of Rebecca, like wanting to be more like Diana, is she ends up becoming superpowered, and it starts to corrupt her, because there's a situation earlier on where she gets attacked by a guy, and like earlier on you see she's a bit of a nerd and a goofball, but she's a decent person, like she's got a good heart. Like there's a homeless guy that she brings food to and stuff like that. And as she progresses, she becomes more confident and more powerful. She becomes less human, and there is a situation where she actually sees the guy that attacked her, beats the bejesus out of him, and the only thing that stops her is that the guy that she brings the dinner to came over and says, "Barbara, what you doing?" Yeah, Barbara, sorry, that's her name. I don't know where I got Rebecca from. And that stops her. She realizes how far she's going, but she still basically says to the guy, "Look, stay on my business," and then runs off. Maxwell Lord wants the thing because he is a failed businessman. He's bought up all these oil wells and stuff, and all of them are dry. And this is basically his last Hail Mary to try and make something of himself. And he's really doing all this, like I said, because of his son. He wants his son to be proud of him. And like I said, he's a bad dad in the sense that, he's the villain of this, but his heart is in the right place, and he's not relentlessly mwahaha evil. That's just stuff that kind of happens to him as he becomes more and more corrupted by the power of the Dreamstone. And like I said, by the end of the film, he realizes what's really important for him is his child. There is a scene, I think, where the child wishes that his dad loves him, and it freaks him out to say, "Look, you never need to say that to me. I'm your dad. I just don't want you to think I'm a failure." And the kid looks at him and he's like, "You're not a failure, you're my dad." And that was kind of nice and heartfelt. And I wasn't expecting that level of sympathy to be given to the main villain in it. Just to point out now as well at this stage, Steve, who is back, he's in the body of another guy. So everyone else sees him as another person. Diana sees him as Steve. So that's just one of the other rumours that was leaked out on one of the websites earlier on. So that's the way the story's being told. I thought they would have brought up how it's not exactly fair for Steve to be living this guy's life, what's happened to him, but it is kind of touched on, but not really that much. Because if you think about it, Diana is basically getting all this time with Steve by, denying someone else their existence. But I suppose if you look into it too hard, you're never going to be able to tell this story. And like I said, in the non-spoiler section, it is really a good part of the film, the relationship between Steve and Diana, and how, she has been pointing from, I kept thinking of Highlander, the bit where Connor kept lighting a candle for Heather, for 400 years. You have that same kind of vibe that she's had her one great love and she wasn't willing to move on. And this is kind of like getting her a chance to get over that and get back in the world again. Because as much as Steve loves her, he doesn't want to see her like this, and that actually leads to him later on in the film deciding to, try and get her to renounce the wish so that he can go, basically back to the dead. Because the price for her not doing that is to basically perpetuate what's going on in the world, which has literally fallen into chaos with all the wishes that people are being granted. But like I said, I really loved it was really endearing to see him, when he's in the jet, for instance, that they steal from the Smithsonian. You've seen that in the trailer with all the fireworks going off around them. The little Easter egg that they shove in there is that Diana turns invisible, which I thought was great because, the invisible jet it's a long-standing piece of lore from Wonder Woman. So it was just great to actually see it. I guess what I'm saying is it really kind of surprised me how much the centre of this film is the themes of family and of love and of sacrifice. The beginning of the film, as you've seen with the kind of the tournament, where you got Diana as a preteen, she's 9 or 10 or something like that, competing with the other Amazons. She loses that because she cheats. She was actually, preoccupied with watching the other ones behind her, got knocked off the horse, and she ended up taking a shortcut to get through. And she could have won, but she's prevented from winning by Robin Wright's character, forget it at the moment. And it's basically because she said nothing based on lies is worthwhile. So she could have won that, but it wouldn't have meant anything because she cheated to do so. And that's kind of the theme of the film, that, it's better to be true than to live a lie. And like I said, I was really kind of impressed at how well they actually treated Maxwell Lord. I don't know much about Maxwell Lord as a villain, because I know he was, I don't know if he's a big deal in the DC universe. I think he's something similar to Lex Luthor. I remember seeing him in, series 1 of Supergirl. on the CW, but that was back when Alex was straight and she was supposed to be his love interest. So I don't really know what way that worked out. But in this, he just basically played as like a desperate businessman, desperately trying to, make his son proud of him, who's kind of just, things have just got out of control for him, that's all, and things spun out of that. So he's not like relentlessly evil or anything. And Pedro Pascal is having a great laugh doing this. Like he's really charismatic in the role, so I found him very enjoyable anyway. Like I said, Kristen Wiig's character really impressed me. I'm not a huge Kristen Wiig fan, but I was really impressed with her in this because a lot of her motivation to fight Diana is because she doesn't want to go back to being the person she was before, like the goofy, wallflower that's ignored. Like she really enjoys having the power that she has. And like I said, she wasn't expecting it. She just wanted to be as cool as Diana. She didn't expect to be as powerful as Wonder Woman. And that's really starting to take away from her humanity. So there was a lot more weight to her character than I was expecting. And I like the way as well that the film ended was that the big showdown between Diana and Max, it really actually is a bit of a feint because she'd actually hooked him up to the lasso of truth. And he was actually broadcasting it to the world to try to get them to make all their wishes. She was actually talking to the world instead of, him. And everybody basically gives up their wishes in order for the world to go back to the way it is, which was, lovely, which is what was the whole point of it, that the world is, a great place as it is. For all its flaws, it's not the hell that, it would descend into if everybody actually did get everything they desired. So all in all, I really enjoyed it. It's kind of strange to watch a DCEU film that isn't like relentlessly, mopey about and dark. And I know since, Shazam and Aquaman, they've shifted away from that. And I think that's for the better because this was I really enjoyed this. That's what I'm saying. It was great to see this, 1980s take on Wonder Woman. And there's a lovely cameo in this. I'm not going to ruin it, but you can probably guess, like she plays the woman who played the original wearer of the old golden armor. Astoria, I think her name was. It's a nice nod of the head to the longevity that Wonder Woman has as a character, so you might enjoy it. So there you go. That's my review of Wonder Woman 1984. I don't really want to give more away the linear story because I think it might ruin it. But I enjoyed it. It nipped along much quicker than I thought it would. It's not the best film in the world. Like I said, it's not going to set things on fire. But I think it's a competent film. You'll go in, you'll enjoy yourself. You probably enjoy it, but I said if you're there as a couple. But definitely worth seeing. So 7 out of 10. There you go. So have a good one, guys. If you like this, like and subscribe. Leave a comment below about what you think about it. And there you go.